Recent developments have drawn significant international attention to the ongoing violence affecting Christians in Nigeria. US leaders have voiced strong concerns over what they describe as escalating attacks and persecution, and their statements have raised the prospect of direct intervention. President Donald J. Trump stated that the United States might deploy troops or carry out airstrikes in Nigeria in response to what he described as record numbers of Christians being killed. On social media, he wrote, "If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. We may very well go into that country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities." He also directed the US Department of Defense to prepare for possible action in Nigeria, citing what he calls Christian persecution in the country. His statements have sparked global debate, with some viewing them as a strong stance in defense of religious freedom, while others warn that military involvement could escalate an already complex conflict. US Senator Ted Cruz of Texas has also highlighted the situation in Nigeria. In a public statement, he congratulated President Trump for designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern regarding religious freedom, specifically because of what Cruz describes as systematic persecution of Christians. Senator Cruz has claimed that mass murder and atrocities are being committed against Christian communities, and he introduced the Nigeria Religious Freedom Accountability Act of 2025. This legislation seeks to hold Nigerian officials accountable if they, in his view, facilitate Islamist jihadist violence and the imposition of blasphemy laws. Despite these assertions, Nigerian governmental sources have rejected the claim of Christian genocide, describing it as false and misleading. US Representative Riley M. Moore has echoed these concerns. He praised President Trump's decision to redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern, and emphasized that he will lead efforts in Congress to investigate the situation further. In his communication to the US Secretary of State, Representative Moore claimed that more than 7,000 Christians had been killed in Nigeria in 2025 alone. He described Nigeria as the deadliest place in the world to be a Christian, highlighting the scale of violence and the need for immediate international attention. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth also expressed strong support for President Trump's directive, stating on social media that the Department of War is preparing for action, and stressing that the killing of innocent Christians in Nigeria must end immediately. His comments reinforce the administration's view that the situation requires urgent attention and potentially decisive measures. Taken together, these statements reflect a US leadership that is increasingly framing the situation in Nigeria as a major crisis of religious persecution. They highlight a willingness to use political, legislative, and potentially military measures to respond. For millions of Nigerians, the situation remains precarious, and the eyes of the world are increasingly focused on how both local authorities and international actors will respond to the unfolding crisis.